Welcome back. I'm your host, Kelle Sparta, transformational shaman, spiritual business coach. I'm here with my best friend in Boquete, Katherine Loranger, and spiritual business coach. And we are talking today about building, how do we call this? Building faith
Belief,
and
expectancy.
expectancy in the
Mm-hmm.
universe. And this one, we referenced this in an earlier episodes. This is how this ended up on our radar for this week, is that we were talking about building trust in the universe and what that was about and how that works and this whole 9 yards and why it's important. So I want to remind everybody why this is important, and then I'll turn it over to you for the beginning of the discussion on building the pieces. But it's so important to trust in the universe because if you don't, then every time anything goes south in any way, you'll panic. So I just had a client who was like, she came in, she started out, she was doing great, but then her business cut in half. The part of the business that she wants to leave behind, go figure, it's cutting in half. That's kind
That's
of
how that
expensive.
works.
And so she's, I can't afford to keep going. And I'm like, okay. And that was like $1,250 a month that just came out of my income budget, right? And so if you're at a lower price point for monthly income, if that's a big portion of your monthly income, then that becomes a panic point, right? You're like, what am I going to do? This I've lost this money. But if you've got good faith in the universe, you're like, the universe will provide it some other way. It'll be fine. It'll come in another fashion, or somebody else will come on board, or whatever. It'll get replaced and then more some. And it's not like she was upset and leaving because things weren't working. She was just like, let me get everything together. I'll get my money back and we'll get things going. And so she'll come back. It's not like she was unhappy. She just needed a pause. And so if you get into the space where you're freaking out, now you're going to generate the energy of more reasons to freak out. Because what you focus on is what expands. And this is one of the reasons why you need to trust the universe, is to be like, it's fine. It'll be fine. No worries. So there's when you're stepping into this space, that's one of the hardest things, is not going into control patterns, because when you lose your faith in the universe, you start doing the panic pivot control pattern piece. And I think this is where we talked about it, is in the panic pivot episode,
Yeah, we've
actually.
talked about it in a couple
Yeah.
episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's super important because that faith in the universe is what draws business to you, right? We were talking about how I learned with Mama Mia that the less I work, the more I make. The less I try to work, the more money I make, because I'm letting go of the need to try and control it. And then it just can flow, right? And so when I was in Mamma Mia and I couldn't pay attention, money just came flooding in the door. And so this is, again, a trust in the universe thing, is if you're not trying to control it, then you're not controlling where the money can come from, and you're not controlling how it can arrive, and you're just letting it flow as it's meant to flow, and you're doing your piece of putting things out in the world. Let's talk a little bit about the structure of how to trust the universe, because people immediately go into the how do I do that piece. So why don't you talk about that, Katherine? How do we build it?
Yeah. So I actually, before I talk about that, I want to talk about the words, and because the words really are outlining a process. So faith, belief, expectancy. And I'm going to ask everybody who's listening to just check in with yourself and just check in and say, is gravity working today in my life? And I can say 1,000,000,000% that's going to be a big old yes for you. And now you didn't wake up thinking, I wonder if gravity is going to work. Am I going to fly off the bed? If I step out the door, am I like going to the moon? You just know, right? You just expect it's integrated. And so it's the same with the other spiritual laws of the universe and how it works. However, these are not things that we've been taught. These are not things that we've been educated or taught how to recognize. They're working anyway, just like gravity. They're there working anyway. But it's about how do we more consciously come into harmony with them. And so faith is when you can't see something, right? Like you have faith in gravity. You just know it's going to happen. So how do you build your faith, and then the faith builds into belief? It's okay, yes, I actually believe that this is a true thing. And then when you've got a belief built, then you can actually go into an expectancy. An expectancy is where it's like you go to your favorite coffee shop and you order the coffee that you want, and you just expect you're going to get what you ask for, right? You're not putting a lot of effort into it. You're not second guessing. You're not wondering. Maybe if it's like a brand new coffee shop, it's not a chain place. Maybe you've heard good things about it. You go in and you place your order. There's a little bit of, okay, I heard good things about it. So I've got some faith it's going to happen. And then you get your order and it's like, oh, like I actually got my order. Okay. Like I believe that this is a probability. And then over time, when you go in again and again, you're going to have an expectancy that you're going to get exactly what you wanted. So it's the same with life. And with my clients, the way that we start with this is by tracking the evidence because our brains actually want to see the proof. So, say you have identified, okay, I want to manifest more income in my life. And that's a common one for pretty much everybody on the, not everybody on the planet. Like some people have an abundance of income and they want, there's other things that they're manifesting. But if you're in a business, often it's income or it's work life balance or income and health or love and relationships. And so the way that it starts is you just start to track the tiny, minuscule things. And when I say track, literally get a book and write it down, either a little booklet or in your phone. And so you found a dime on the ground. You pick it up, you rejoice. I'm a money magnet, and you write it down. And as you're doing that, you could probably feel and hear my energy just had a little shift there, right? I'm a money magnet. There's this, oh, kind of feeling, right? There's this excitement, there's this gratitude, there's this playfulness. That's your vibration and your frequency, and the universe is going to respond to that in kind. So every time you're teaching your mind to focus, you're teaching your brain to focus, you're teaching your vibration to become in alignment with what it is you want to create, you're building your faith. As you build that faith, you're going to get more evidence. That's why you're tracking it. Tracking the evidence builds the belief. And then once you've built a belief, you can then start to actually rely on expectancy because you've had enough proof that this is actually how it works. This is how it works. So I'm going to invite you to just think about one thing, and it could be even like building your confidence as a business owner. It could be seeing more revenue in your business. It could be connecting with more clients. It could be getting more speaking engagements. It could be like any of those things or something that you're thinking of. And start to track the tiny things, right? We're not going to start tracking it when it's already come to completion. So if I say I want to manifest, create, generate $100,000 in my business this year, I'm not waiting until I get $100,000. Oh, I got $100,000. That's the proof. It's no, you're tracking like a dollar here, 50 cents here. And you're also opening yourself up to the flow of abundance in all its forms. So, one of the other things that I'll have clients do if they're working around the money one is to track as a way of building belief alternative ways that money is coming to you. So, maybe somebody bought your meal. Maybe somebody purchased your coffee. Maybe you went shopping and there was like 20% off fruits and vegetables on Wednesdays, which is a thing here. So I love to go get my fruits and veggies. So you're starting to track those things as well as proof of this greater financial abundance coming into you. And again, I'm just using money because it's an easy thing to track, right? If you're looking at greater connection in your relationships, it's the same thing. Oh, look at somebody smiled at me. Oh, look, I smiled at somebody else. Oh, like I said, hello. Oh, we made eye contact. Oh, my partner and I had a moment, or I had a call with a friend. So you're starting to track those things to build it into belief and expectancy. But again, the really key thing is to track it because otherwise your mind will dismiss it. Your mind will go back into its old paradigms and patterns, which are typically there's not enough, doesn't work this way. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. It could work for other people, but not for me. Not enough to go around. I don't know how to do this. So when you track it, you're creating alternative evidence for your mind to work with. So
Yeah,
Kelly,
one
I
of the
just,
things
oh, go ahead.
that I do is I have notifications that come into my email box every time a recurring charge or a new charge happens. And so even though I know that money is coming in, every time the charge comes through, I go, woohoo, free money. I'm like, woohoo, more. Yes, yeah, thank you. More, please. It's this, I do a little celebration dance every time the notification comes through because I'm like, yeah, baby. Bring it on. I had a
Yeah.
friend who used to, every time I manifested something, she would go, wish for something else, wish for something else. And I was like, oh, yes, you have to do that. Every time you get what you want, you wish for something else, put something else new out into the world. This is one of the things that I see happen with people who are manifesting all the time is that they get what they want and then they freak out, shut down, and don't ask for anything else.
Yeah. And there's a difference between the energy of wish and hope and the energy of expectancy.
Yes. She
So,
meant it from the
yes, yeah,
expectancy standpoint.
I totally get that. But just for people listening, right? When you're wishing and hoping, you
Yes.
don't know. Like you're just like,
Correct.
oh, I hope it works out, but it couldn't. But when you expect it's going to work out, there's a strength of energy and frequency there. So the other thing around your frequency is that you want to be eternally grateful, right? We're not surprised. So when these things happen, when the universe brings us what we've asked for, we want to notice our energy because the energy of surprise is, I was not expecting this. So we want to be like, yes, I'm delighted. There's a surprise in the sense that I don't know how it's coming, but I know it is coming. That's the expectancy.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have to be willing to receive it. You talked about maybe somebody takes you out for lunch. One of the things I see all the time is people are like, I want to have more money in my life. And then somebody says, oh, I'm going to buy your lunch. And they say, oh, no, I can't let you do that. I'm like, stop saying no. Say yes, receive.
Yeah.
And
Or
so
someone
that's another
offers to
piece.
open the door,
Right.
right? Or gives you a compliment.
All of
Mhm.
those things. You have to be willing to receive. If you're asking for more and you won't receive it, then you're not going to get it. And then the other thing that I see that people have a challenge with around that is lack of clarity. They're like, I don't know what to ask for, and I don't know what I want, and I'm not clear about where I'm going in my business or what I'm going to do or whatever. And I see that a lot because I do a lot of coaching around those subjects. But if you don't know what to ask for the thing that will make you happy. You don't need to know what that is. The universe knows, right? You can ask for financial abundance and doing what you love. You don't have to know what the how that happens. We provide the destination and the motivation. The universe provides the navigation. And so the how is not your problem. The how is the universe's problem. Your problem is picking what you want and then taking a step towards it, right? And then waiting for the universe to give you the next step and the next step and the next step. And you just keep walking in the direction of what you want, choosing what feels good in your body. What would you love? Your favorite question, Catherine. And eventually the universe was going to take you there. It's also going to pull you out of things like the client I was just talking about who had half of her business disappear in the path that she's not interested in going in it anymore. So, it will take you out of the stuff that is no longer for you as you're stepping into what is for you. And so that's the other piece of the thing. So if you don't know exactly what you want, just pick generally what you want.
And I'm gonna actually disagree a little bit there
Oh,
because
really? Okay.
clar the clarity, right? The universe freaking loves clarity.
Yes, it does.
So you
Yeah.
can say, bring me what's going to make me happy. But here's the thing is that your choice is to be happy right here, right now, because any feeling tone that we have is a vibration. It's the interpretation of a vibration. So you can actually teach yourself to feel happy now, and you can ask the universe for clarity, right?
Yeah.
So if you're saying like happiness is out there, it's the same with your vision. If your vision is always out there, it's far away, right? You can take a step, but it's going to move, it's going to move as well. You've got to embody the vibration. And
Go ahead.
when you're learning to embody the vibration, you're not going to be embodying it like all of a sudden I'm like 24/7 embodying the vibration. So no, it's going to be like a freaking nanosecond.
Right.
Like it's going to be a nanosecond. And for a lot of people, it's going to be an unfamiliar feeling. So your internal systems, your paradigms, they're gonna freak out because it's different than what's normal for you. And so
Yeah.
you learn how to calm your nervous system and then you embody the vibration. And
Yeah.
you just repeat that until it becomes safe to feel the feeling, tone, the vibration, the frequency of your vision made manifest.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And what I find is that when people are lacking clarity, if they are attached to clarity, they will
Hmm.
use it as a resistance to manifesting anything.
Totally.
And
Yeah. They're like,
yeah,
it's an excuse.
which is
Yeah.
why I'm saying here's a shortcut, right? You can
Yeah.
say, I want
Yeah.
this, and then let the
Yeah.
universe bring you the clarity. And
Yeah.
then once you have the clarity, then you put that into
Hmm.
the mix,
Yeah.
right? So, you
One of
know
the
that that's
other
what you need. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I would say one of the other things that I'll do with people, and I have his permission to use this example. My husband, I first got into this work, and of course I've shared it with him, and he's gone through my coaching programs. And when I asked the question, "What would I love?" He had been conditioned and grown up believing that what he wanted did not matter.
Yeah.
And so the question, what would you love, if that's been your experience or similar to it, can be overwhelming and freaky. So
Yeah.
in that case, there's a couple of backdoor ways to get at that. And one is to just practice asking the question with tiny, would I love coffee or would I love tea?
Yeah.
Would I love water or would I love, I don't know, eggnog,
Lemonade.
because it's like
Yeah.
around Christmas time that we're recording this. Would I love to sit in the sun or would I love to sit in the shade? So you're just starting with like little, you're just like warming up the muscles. So
Yeah.
that's one way to start to practice that, right? Because what would I love is that what ultimately, when you live into that question, that is going to require, coming back to our topic today, that you have developed the faith, the belief, and expectancy. That is yours and it's coming for you. As you do your part, the universe will in turn do its part. So that's one of the ways of backdooring it. The other way is to build a bucket list, like 100 things that you want to experience before you pass on to the next. And for some people, it's, oh, I could think of 5 things, but you really want to stretch because it's not necessarily what would I love, which can feel like an overwhelming question, but it's like, what are the things I want to experience on this planet? What do I want to be, do, have before I kick off?
Yeah. And you were talking about building the belief earlier. And one of the things that I have my clients do is look back at all the ways in which you were worried that things were not going to work out, worried that you were going to end up homeless on the street, or worried that you were going to have to shut your business down and disappoint everyone, or worried in which all the worries that didn't work, that didn't happen.
Hmm.
99.9% of everything we worry about never comes to pass. And so I have them look at all the ways in which everything did work out and just
Hmm.
make a list of all the ways in which it did work out. It was okay. The universe had your back. You were okay. It all happened. And you can build that list immediately. You don't have to
Yes,
wait for
going
it to,
backwards. Yeah, I
right?
love that.
And
And
yeah,
and we
that helps
know,
build.
yeah, and research has actually proven that our memory is malleable,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like it's so malleable, so it's all perception. Everything is perception. So you can actually go back and even rewrite old stories. So you can go back and pick you don't even have to look at all the ways that you were worried. You can look at like all of the ways that the universe did support you throughout your
Yeah,
entire life and how things
absolutely.
always been working out for you. And
Yeah.
then if there are situations where maybe it didn't work out, if you're listening, you're still like breathing, so you're alive, so it is still working out for you. But if there were some experiences that didn't work out the way that you wanted to, so maybe you did lose a business, maybe you did have a failed relationship, maybe you have had health challenges, going and looking at those things and what did I learn and how did I grow from that? And then of that, what are the pieces I'm gleaning, right? Like I'm going to cherry picking the pieces that are going to support the development of a new perception and a new way of being.
Yeah.
Because you
So
get to decide, you get to pick,
absolutely.
you get to
Yeah.
pick.
And I have an example of that from my life right now, which is I had a plan to go to Colombia to celebrate my birthday in January, and I had 9 people who were going to go with me, and everybody canceled within in a 2-day period. Everyone canceled a trip that we had been talking about for months, and I was heartbroken, and I was sad, and I was upset. And what I discovered later is that my husband had forgotten to renew his passport early enough. He thought it was ending next year and it was not, and he had to send away for an emergency renewal, whatever. And it probably won't be back in time for the trip. And so the
Mm.
universe dumped the trip because it was like, nope, he won't be able to go. It'll be messed up. Everybody will be upset. All the tickets for him will be wasted, and I would have to go without him or not go. And then the purpose for the whole trip, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, oh, that's why that happened. And these are the things that that happen if you get attached to it being a problem, if you get invested in being in your victim in your misery box, which if you haven't heard about the victim in the misery box, go to Spirit Sherpa and look up the victim in the misery box and you can hear an entire episode about that. But on the Spirit Sherpa podcast. But if you get invested in the victim state, then you miss the gift, right? And I talked about the worry piece. You don't have to look at the things that you worry about, but if you are a constant worrier, then having evidence that your worry was unfounded is super helpful for letting the worry go, right? For instance, years ago, I had a roommate who looked at me and I was at the beginning of the month looking at the end of the month and going, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills next month. And she said, Are you aware that we have this conversation every single month? And I was like, No, I wasn't. She said, And every month you pay your bills. And I'm like, Yes, I do. Okay, I'll
Mhm.
stop worrying about that because clearly there is no reason to worry about that because it just works. And sometimes having the evidence that it always works out stops the worry, the habit of worrying, right? It was a habit of worrying for me. It was a holdover from a time when I didn't have the money coming in and where it was a challenge for me. And yet I always paid my bills. I always did. I always paid them. I was never homeless except when I was on walkabout, which was a different thing altogether. And that was, I was traveling the world and traveling the US. That was a spiritual journey. That was not me being homeless because I couldn't pay my bills. It was, I was on a journey. But the, when you are in this state, you need to be in the energy that you want to create. And I was lucky because my mother raised me in the New Age movement. And so my childhood years were spent saying, I live a charmed life. My whole childhood was like, I live a charmed life. And then in my late 20s, in my early 30s, I forgot that I lived a charmed life. And engaged in the struggle bus. And I was on that struggle bus all the time, working hard and not getting anywhere. And I was working, I was just, I was doing everything I was supposed to do, and none of it was working because I was invested in the struggle bus. And I was invested in this idea that nobody had any money. And so therefore I couldn't ask for any. And these were challenges that I created in my own environment before I figured out the way to, to get out of them. But this is part of that process is you have to be able to step into that faith in the universe and be able to say, I live a charmed life. Everything works out for me. The universe has got my back. It's always going to be working. The universe is conspiring for my best and highest good at all times. And even if I don't see it now, I will see it later and see that the thing that's happening right now that I feel like is not good is actually for my benefit later, because that's always how it works. If you take the nugget of learning or you end up in the right place at the right time. So when we got flooded out of our apartment in Richmond, it caused us to pull the trigger on buying the house. And that run up of the price of the house gave us the money to move to Panama, and that's what put us here, which was the whole point of moving in the first place, was to find a place with massively good community and that we're going to love to live and whatever. And we thought it was Richmond, but it wasn't. We were wrong, but Richmond was the stepping stone to get us here. And we didn't know that, but the universe did. And it gave us what we needed to get us on the way. And the process of being in Richmond kept us from being settled there because we were supposed to come here. And so you'll see things in retrospect that you may not know in the moment. You may not grasp in the moment. And when you look in reverse and you can see how things worked out, even though they may have been worse in the beginning, it's always breakdown before breakthrough, right? Not always, but often breakdown before breakthrough. And so you can see where the breakdown happened and where the breakthrough came through at the end, right? So just having evidence from your past is super helpful. So did you have anything you wanted to add?
Nope.
Okay. I think that covers it for this episode. So remember to like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget that what you focus on is what expands, what you intend is what you create. So choose wisely.